In our 21 Days of Wellness Chats, we are here today with Kim talking about magical moments for families. We all know that Christmas is such a magical time of the year. And with that, Kim, I'd like to ask you, what are some activities families can do this year as we are still under so many restrictions?
Yeah, thank you. I think there is so much we can do of getting back to the simplicity of like when we think of Christmases past and things that our ancestors did, when we didn't have the things like electronics and the luxuries that we have in today's world. I think it's really important right now to address the grief that our kids are feeling and that we're feeling. I think it's really important to be able to hold both. To know that, yes, we have a lot of losses and we have a lot of grief right now. We're missing our friends, our parties with our friends, our Christmas concerts, our sporting events. There's so much things that are losses for our kids and for us, our work parties, our socializing with friends. Maybe we do our neighborhood cookie exchange. There's so much losses. And I think we also need to recognize we can still have joy. So I think helping our kids and our families to know we can have both. We can hold both at the same time. So acknowledging their sadness, maybe it's showing up as anger for them, maybe it's showing up as anger for us, and just acknowledging what emotions are arising as the first step, I think. Because I think before we can get to joy, we need to also acknowledge that this is hard and this sucks and that all of our brains are in a pandemic right now, and we have never been in a pandemic in our generation before. So for us to also acknowledge that we're all experiencing a shared experience of trauma right now, where none of our brains feel safe, where none of our brains know what's going to happen. And so I think we need to also understand that, it's okay to have the hard days. It's okay to have the hard moments, but in that we can also find the joy. We can also find the gratitude. So I think it's looking for the glimmers, and I call it like glitter. Like, where can we sprinkle little pieces of glitter throughout our day so that, yes, things are hard. Yes, this is a hard time, but we can also shine. There can be moments of shining where we can build connection even deeper in our relationships and in our home and in our family. And the gift of this time can be that coming back together in our relationships as our family and connecting, because that's what we're wired for. We're all wired for connection. And really, when it comes to Christmas, our kids don't really remember the gifts that we give them. They remember how they felt. They remember what it felt like in the home. They remember what it felt like to have your attention, doing things with you. So I think if we get back to that, how can we take off the stress right now that so many families are having of finances, a stress of not having maybe, the childcare that they once had, or the built-in community supports where they would have their break when, their children were involved in other community activities, or when their children were in school, because there's a lot of children that aren't in school right now, or when, there were built-in breaks in the community of like sharing, different activities of play dates and things such as that. So I think also if we have extended family and, our children would go there for a sleepover at grandma and grandpa's. So I think we need to also recognize there's stress on family systems right now, where that built-in supports that held families to offer them support for self-care, that community support. We've kind of, it's hard right now for families because we don't necessarily have that as much. So I think noticing the hard, noticing that if you're not feeling happy and you're not feeling joyful, that really makes sense from a neuroscience perspective in a pandemic right now. And know that you've also probably lost a lot of supports that held you as a family. So it makes sense if you're feeling weary right now, like so many that I speak to, then that makes sense. So acknowledge that. But I think then also acknowledging that you can give yourself permission for joy. You can still give yourself permission for gratitude, and how to build that into your family in little bits of glimmer, because you're not going to feel like doing the extravagant gingerbread house maybe that you did before, but maybe it's good enough to go get graham crackers at the store and buy the prepackaged icing and just buy some candy and slap together whatever happens, because really it's not about the outcome, it's about the process. It's about just finding things that you can do together to just enjoy each other again and laugh together again.
That was so beautiful. And I think I love what you said that enjoying the process, I think that is so important, and the gift of time that we have this year to give each other. And I was talking to a friend at work, and she mentioned something which I was like, oh my God, this is so true. She's like, Andrew, I'm so excited to step back and take some time during these holidays and be with my boys, because every year I'm always rushing and packing up everything and arranging for somebody to look after my dogs because we're going to the mountains. She's like, this year I'm just like, it's okay. We're all going to be here in our pajamas, reading books or doing whatever we do, making gingerbread houses out of graham crackers. So that is beautiful. Thank you for that. And why do you think, Kim, then it's important for us to be able to treasure and enjoy the things that money can't buy?
Yeah, I think it's more important than now to acknowledge that, especially with the financial constraint of so many families right now. So I think one of the things that we're doing is a 30-day challenge to just find those magic moments. So it's not about money, but it's about sharing experiences, creating memories, and spending time together, doing simple, ordinary, magical things together. So maybe it's going to the library and getting out some Christmas books that you can read together over Christmas. Perhaps it's, getting some hot chocolate and candy canes and just making that really special, a special time that you gather around and just have that shared drink together. It can be something like pulling out the board games that you have around the house or a deck of cards and playing some of those games together and creating that laughter and that fun together. Puzzles right now, painting, now is a really good time to get back to creativity. One of the big things that goes when we are under stress and our brains are under stress right now, one of the big things that leaves is creativity. So, and one of the biggest things we need right now is creativity. So how to build back in that creativity to have fun with our kids, whether it's filling up our water bottles, and putting in drops of dye, like food dye, and going out and sprinkling them, spraying it all over the snow to create different colors in the snow. Making, family cookies together, recipes that you might have had in the past. Looking for opportunities, I think, as well to give back, especially, for families that can do that and families that have, the means to do that. The food bank, I know in our community, it was like a mile long just this past week. There's so much need out there for our families that can give back in that way, and families that don't have the financial means to give back, but still giving back, it releases dopamine and serotonin and all those happy chemicals when we do that as a family, and it's a shared connection. So whether it's shoveling our neighbor's snow, whether it's dropping off, some type of like homemade cookies to our grandparents, whether it's making different cards that we can make and deliver, whether it's dropping off a recipe that we love and just an index card, to people that we love to say thank you. So I think there's just ways that we can look at just magic moments, ordinary things that we can get back to. We can do things like having conversation starters on our table that to start conversations. Meals are one of the most protective ways that we can protect families. Research shows that families that eat meals together are more likely to be connected and less likely to have children that end up in drugs or alcohol addictions. So that shared, simple luxury of sharing family meals together when we can is so important, and maybe having conversation starters or how to create that so like it's a special experience, maybe creating a meal plan and making that meal with your children, or they are responsible for the appetizer, or decorating the table in a certain way. And I think just bringing out the list of Christmas movies that you guys want to see and having maybe an ink blotter of having a family meeting and gathering, and what are some of the things that you really want to do, each of you individually as a family together. So everyone will have different experiences that they will bring to the table, creating a list, and then maybe getting like one of those bingo ink blotters where you blot it out once that one is done, so that everybody's coming to the table with what's important to them about the holidays. If it's something that they're really missing, like that connection of that family party, creating a way that they can do that on Zoom. I know of some families who have like made cookies and dropped off like cookie decorating kits to their their kids' friends, and then they had a Zoom party and they decorated those cookies on that Zoom party. So I think it's about getting creative and getting simple, going back to simple, having a karaoke party where we sing different karaoke carols and songs, just different things that we can do to connect as a family, and getting outside as much as possible, because we know that that vitamin D is so important for us, that walking releases all of that stress. So whenever we can move our body, we're releasing all of those stress cortisol and adrenaline that are rushing through our body. And a lot of families are under stress right now. So how can we move our body? We can have a virtual something, a dance party with family, or we can have a kitchen dance party. We create a playlist and we dance and we move our body. We do yoga together, just something simple. There's so much online that you can do, of like 5-minute yoga, where you just do a 5-minute yoga before bed, or a 5-minute yoga, during the day. So I think it's, how can we move our bodies? Going back to even as simple as walking. Walking is so important for our health. And so getting out and maybe like doing a walk and looking at Christmas lights, looking at, what kind of things are in nature that are this time of year. And so, maybe bringing nature back inside and doing some type of an activity, a craft or a decoration with nature. So I think it's about getting back to simple and things that really ignite all of our senses. So what can we hear that really brings us joy and uplifts us? Whether that's, funny movies, whether that is, certain music. Paying attention to what really helps you to find joy and bringing that more into your life right now through your 5 senses. What do you love to see? Bringing that in. It could be as simple as candlelight right now. The Christmas lights bring a certain sense of joy and a certain sense of peace. So I think it's like, what kind of tastes do you guys love as a family right now that you can bring in, to ignite your sense of taste? Maybe it's burning, cinnamon and cloves and oranges in water on the stove and bringing in that aroma to smell in your home of Christmas. So I think it's, what can we do as well to bring in our 5 senses in very simple ways that can bring in a feeling of peace into our home as well.
Right. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all those great tips with us, Kim. And it's like doing those small things to create the magic during this season. I appreciate that very, very much. Thank you so much for taking out time and joining us on our wellness chats. To all our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in and watching us, and stay tuned for more episodes coming on our wellness chats. Take care.